Unfortunately, many people today assume that wealth is just something that happens to some people and doesn't happen to others. But I'm going to show you in this video the most predictable and the most dependable path to creating wealth for yourself. And I know for a fact that anybody can follow these steps successfully because this is the path that most people have followed who have gone from zero and created substantial amounts of wealth for them and their families. It is also the same exact path that I followed to go from zero income, debt, broke, no money in my bank account, to a 6-figure per month income and a 7-figure net worth in 10 years. There are 5 steps along this path, and the first one is learn more, because the more you learn, the more you earn. In this phase, it is all about getting skills. And at the very beginning, some of those skills might be as simple as learning how to interview. My first job in the finance industry was 10 years ago when I got hired into a broker training program. And I had recently graduated college, but my degree was in Christian ministry. So I knew absolutely nothing about what it took to get a job as a stockbroker. So what I had to do is sit down with somebody who had the job that I wanted, and I literally asked them, what did they ask you in the interview? What were the questions? What type of person are they looking for? And then what did you say in response to those interview questions? What about you got you into this position? So I had to study what it took to get into the position that I wanted to get into. And this wasn't the first time I had done this. I also went through this process for a previous job that I had gotten before at another Fortune 500 company. And when you sit down with somebody that has a job that you want and you ask them, what are all the things that they asked you in the interview, and what was it about you that got you this job that I can try and work on and replicate, and what are the things that you said and communicated that helped you get the job, they're going to be pretty responsive and they're going to want to help you out because it's a nice ego boost for them, and people generally like helping other people get to where they are. But remember, this phase is all about learning, not about earning. It's all about stacking up those skills that you'll be able to put together later on to earn much, much more. And so when I started out in the broker training program, it was still about stacking skills. And in the beginning, that was something as simple as getting licensed. It was getting my Series 7 and my 63, learning how the stock market worked and what mutual funds are, what ETFs are, how bonds work, how the retirement account system works. And then slowly stacking on other skills like portfolio allocation and trading and technical analysis and options. And remember, in this first phase, all of those moves that you make are all about gathering as many skills as you possibly can. Which brings us to the next phase, which is make more, because you cannot coupon clip your way to wealthy. Now, it might sound very obvious up front that you have to make more in order to become wealthy later on. But if it was really that obvious, then most people would become wealthy, yet most people do not. And the reality is many people just sit around waiting for somebody to hand out a better job to them, waiting for somebody to come along and hand them a pay raise, instead of doing the things necessary to increase their own income. And in the beginning, for many people like it was for myself, this might come in the form of getting better jobs. Now remember, jobs are for learning, not for earning. And this is something that took me far too long to learn, as you'll see in a moment. For the first year and a half of my career that started 10 years ago as a broker trainee, I was making about $40,000 per year. Grunt. For the next year and a half, I was able to stack a few more skills together and get a little promotion to $45,000 per year. But during those first 3 years as a broker, the main skill that I was working on building was sales. On top of the portfolio allocation, on top of the trading, on top of the options, on top of all of the other stuff, the licenses, I was focused on learning sales because for as far as I could see, that was the highest earning potential in front of me. So I needed to get good at sales. Year 4, I was able to land a sales position and I made about $120,000. And then year 5, I got into what I thought was the end all be all, the best sales position available, and I was making about $250,000 a year. But I was maxed out and I was also miserable. And that brings us to halfway through 2019 when I quit my job as a stockbroker and I started Heresy Financial. And this was a complete restart for me. I went from making really good money to literally $0. It took me 6 months to make my first dollar on my own and another year after that before I made enough money to pay the bills. And the reason for this was because I actually had to loop back around and start over at the learning phase of learning more because I realized I was lacking skills. I had all the skills necessary to make good money working for somebody else. But as soon as I went off on my own, I realized that was not sufficient to make money on my own. Specifically for me, the skills that required me to learn were things like video editing, videography, lighting, graphic design, literally talking to a camera in an office alone by myself, which oddly enough is a pretty difficult skill to learn, product building, marketing, and a few other skills. And in retrospect, obviously it was worth it to make that jump. But for anybody in the midst of it, in the middle of it, it can be very difficult to realize you might have to give up on all the progress that you've made so far. It's like if you go on a hike and you try and hike up to the peak of the mountain and you get to the top, but you realize once you get to the peak you were trying to get to is actually on a mountain that's farther away. And not only are you going to have to climb up that full mountain, first you're gonna have to climb down the mountain that you just climbed up. And this is why I always recommend to people now, at the very least, start a side business, a side hustle as soon as you can, because there will most likely come a day when you are going to want to leave your job, when you are miserable, when you are capped out because somebody else is determining your income. And just like the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, the best time to have started a business was 20 years ago as well. The second best time is today. The reality is, whether it's a side hustle or a main business, that is going to be the key to increasing your income with no cap on your income potential, because then nobody but you and the customer determine how much you can make. And the next step on the path to wealth is to save more, because no matter how much you earn, you can outspend any income. There's a reason we are constantly seeing stories in the news about people who have won the lottery, or professional athletes that are not getting contracts anymore, or celebrities that are not getting gigs anymore, that go broke after just a few years. Because despite having made millions, tens of millions, sometimes even hundreds of millions of dollars, there is always a way to find something to spend all of that money on. Did you know that half of all Americans will spend at least 1 year of their life in the top 10% of income earners? An even crazier statistic is that about 10% of Americans will spend at least 1 year in the top 1% of income earners. This is a concept known as income mobility, which means that the people who are in the top thresholds of income are constantly changing. In many countries, like especially in Europe and the Middle East, where you have dictatorships, or you have kleptocracies or autocracies, or family histories of controlling the countries and the nations and the wealth, you don't have a lot of income mobility. But at least still to this day in the United States, income mobility is among the highest in the world, which is very good if you are looking for a way to create a lot of income and get wealthy, because just statistically, it means you have a good shot of, at least for some years of your life, making very good money, especially if you try. The issue is that most people assume they'll never get there, and so when they do get there, they want to enjoy it and they blow all their money. Every dollar that they make in income, they spend on something fun, which is why, despite the fact that over half of Americans will spend at least a year making money in the top 10% of income earners, nowhere near half of Americans could be considered wealthy. Your ability to create wealth depends on the dollar difference between what you make and what you spend. During my last 2 years in the financial industry making good money, we didn't spend a lot of it. During that time, we actually still rented, we had no car payments, we saved a lot, and we invested a lot. Now, I'll be completely honest with you, that was a huge struggle for me. Every single day, I was pitching ideas to my wife saying, hey, look at this new Toyota Tundra that just came out. The payment on it would only be like $400 a month for us. How great of a deal is that? Hey, look at this area of town. If we get a house here, then our mortgage will only be this much. That'll be a really fun place to live. Let's buy a house there and stop renting. Hey, we're making this much money now. Why don't we spend some more and just have fun and eat out more and buy some more stuff that we want? And I'm so thankful that she had the exact opposite approach to a lot of my ideas, because the fact that we saved so much and invested so much is what gave me the ability to quit my job and start Heresy Financial. We had substantial investments in gold and real estate, and that gave us the savings and the cash flow that we needed to be able to last a year and a half after starting a Heresy Financial before making enough money to be able to pay the bills. We literally would not have been able to do that otherwise. Which brings us to step number 4, which is invest more. And the key with investing is to look well into your investments. Many people put the cart before the horse on this one. If you notice, invest more comes after saving more, which comes after making more. It does you no good to learn how to invest, to learn how to trade, to be searching for the next silver bullet, the next stock that's going to 10x, if all you have is $978 to invest. There is no return available on planet Earth that will allow you to create wealth starting off with basically nothing. But once you have a high income and you are disciplined in putting it away, then it is absolutely essential to begin investing. And the reality is most people do not invest, they gamble. Because if you do not have a high degree of confidence from research that you've done that the investment you're making has a high probability of producing a return on your investment, then you're not investing, you're gambling. Just because your financial advisor tells you to dollar cost average, throw all your money into the stock market, the entire stock market, pay no attention to value, don't care whether it's up, don't care whether it's down, don't look at the price, don't look at the fundamentals, just keep on buying and eventually you'll be rich, you're not investing, you're gambling. True investing requires that you look well into your investments. Now that can be done through fundamentals, that can be done through technicals, that can be done through swing trading, and it can even be done through standard portfolio investing with index funds with occasional hedging based on smart economic factors. But if you're not paying attention to what you're throwing money at, then there's hidden risk that you do not understand and you are setting yourself up for potential failure. Now it's worth noting the reason why it's important to invest beyond the fact that it will produce and protect your wealth. Because as an investor, you are a capital allocator. The fact that you have capital means you have skills, some skills at allocation. Planting seeds that grow into a tree that bears fruit that gives you more seeds that you can reinvest and do more so with. If you are bad at that skill, you will destroy your wealth and it will remove your ability to continue wasting society's wealth. But if you are good at that skill, you will be rewarded with more wealth that you can then allocate again and produce more wealth, create more wealth for society. You have been entrusted with the wealth that you have created to use it for the benefit of society. It's how you got the wealth in the first place, by producing something that was valuable enough for somebody to pay you that much money that you were able to then take that money and invest it. So you got it by producing value, and you'll protect it and grow it even further by creating even more value. And if you hoard it, just like the parable of the talents, it will be taken away from you. But if you invest it wisely, even though there's risk, you will likely be rewarded even further. This is a noble role to aspire to because it's the investors who give the funds to the entrepreneurs and the innovators, and we would not have the modern way of life with all the innovations and all the products and all the modern comforts and securities of life that we know today without the investor enabling the entrepreneur. And the final step along this path is to give more, because whoever said money can't buy happiness hasn't given enough away. By far the most rewarding, satisfying, and most fun thing you can possibly do with your money and your wealth is to give. We have a mission and a responsibility to take care of those that we are responsible for, that we are entrusted with. And the more wealth that you can create and give, the larger you can expand that umbrella, the more impact you can make, and the more fulfilling life will be. So as a recap, number one, you've got to learn more, because the more you learn, the more you earn. This is about stacking skills together that give you greater earning potential later on. Number two is to make more. If you want to create a significant amount of wealth later on, the number one thing you have to work on is increasing your income, because you cannot coupon clip your way to wealthy. You have to drastically increase your income. And by far and away, the most effective way to do this is going to be through a business that you run yourself, because then only you and your customer can dictate your earning potential. Once you start making a significant amount of money, the goal is to save as much of that as possible, because it's about the dollar difference between what you make and what you spend. Not about the percent difference, it's about the dollar difference. Of all of that money that you keep, it is key that you invest it, because we created that wealth through concentration and taking risk. We protect that wealth and grow it through diversifying and investing. When you look at the paths that some of the most successful and some of the richest people have taken over their lives, in the end, they are investors, but they didn't start off that way. They started off by increasing their earning potential through running a business. So learn more, make more, save more, invest more, and then give more. And finally, I share literally everything I have ever learned about making more money through both business and through investing and trading in Heresy Financial University. It is an all-inclusive membership where I teach you literally everything that you need to know about money. There are full-fledged video courses on investing and trading. We do monthly live group coaching calls, and I also include a premium report that includes time-sensitive asymmetric opportunities where I literally give you on a silver platter opportunities to invest in or trade that have much greater upside potential than downside potential. One of my members, Mike, just recently emailed me and said, "Thank you for all you do. I've been following your portfolio since late January and my account has been booming. You are awesome at teaching. Don't stop." If you're not a member, you're missing out. Sign up now. Link is in the description below. As always, thanks for watching. Have a great day.